leave the area peacefully and you will not be harmed.
It was police brutality. That's what happened. It was police brutality. And it kind of was proving our point of why we were at the protest in the first place. My name is Sean Miller. I am the co-director of the Student Environmental Center, but I'm also on the executive board for student government as the exec for student advocacy. As far as the protest goes, I was head of communications for the medical team. So on June 2nd, it was the third day of the protesting, I believe. Basically, I was there as an organizational role. So I was collecting supplies, medical supplies, of course, and water bottles, things like that. We were gathered in the alleyway between Farm Burger and Salsa, and that's where we kind of set up our station. Of course, we knew that there was a curfew at 8 o'clock, but one of our volunteers had a conversation with a member of the Asheville Police Department where they basically told that volunteer that we would be okay to stay past curfew solely in a medical facility. 8:02 rolled around and we saw a SWAT team approaching, taking over the entire street from the opposite direction that the police department was. So we were essentially surrounded. And these were the SWAT team, they were in full riot gear. They were fully armed, they had semi-automatic weapons, they had shields, huge face masks, the whole 9 yards. I was the first one that they grabbed and they started shoving us out of the alleyway, pointing their guns at us. They were screaming at us to leave and they were threatening to arrest and tear gas us. I started walking down the street towards the protest and they continued, I heard from behind me, they continued to threaten. They continued to threaten with arrest and tear gas. I heard them beginning to, slash all of the water bottles. We had well over $2,000 worth of medical supplies and water bottles, and they proceeded to destroy all of them. And then after that, everything was destroyed, and they started attacking the protesters after they knew that all of our medical supplies were useless.
Fourth day yesterday. Meanwhile, online, many residents have been sharing pictures and videos of officers slashing a supply of water bottles and medical supplies.
The next day, I realized I had gone viral. That story had gone viral, and we just knew that that incident was an even bigger call to action. So the next night, we went back to the alleyway, which some of our volunteers, they had cleaned the entire alleyway. They actually went back in the middle of the night to clean up the absolute mess that the police department had left. It was heartbreaking to see videos of them having to clean up this mess that they didn't even cause. We tried setting up the same medical station, but we were intercepted by Asheville Police Department, and they told us that the owners of the property, which we were unaware of, they requested that we either leave or be arrested if we didn't leave. So we went mobile. We ended up having a medical station out of the trunk of my hatchback. Subarus, they're really the car of the revolution. But we were providing medical support and doing the same thing that we had been doing from our cars. The next day, I believe it was, myself, London Newton, and a couple of other members of our team, accompanied by a lawyer, we had a meeting with the mayor of Asheville, Esther Mannheimer, and we discussed what we would do, moving forward, because EMS, they weren't responding when they were being called, and we were. So it was very obvious that we were a necessity, and it was our American right to be doing what we were doing. So we had an understanding that we would set up a medical station in Pack Square. But yeah, we continue to show up to every single protest. Yeah.
You guys with the news? We are.
Yes, we are.
They just destroyed the entire triage section first. They didn't even confiscate the supplies. They destroyed all the medical supplies. They could have at least donated them to hospitals.
There's a place for everyone in this movement, but I think a really important thing to continue doing is showing up in whatever way you can. listening to Black organizers, listening to Black elders, listening to Black women, listening to Black trans women, uplifting their voices and making sure that they are in safe, comfortable places to express Black joy, their frustration, and everything in between.